Welcome to another Reading Reddit live stream highlights video. Today we are reading some Am I the A-hole Reddit stories such as, am I the a-hole for rehoming my wife's dog after she cheated? Am I the a-hole for breaking up with my fiance after she hit my face and caused serious medical damage? Am I the a-hole for telling my parents they could be part of my kids' lives if they gave me my inheritance? Am I the a-hole for leaving my partner and refusing to be involved in any way, shape, or form after they stopped taking the pill and pierced our condoms to have a child? Am I the a-hole for saying I'm second guessing having a baby with my husband after he asked for a paternity test? Am I the a-hole for wanting to divorce my husband and everyone in my family is telling me not to? Am I the a-hole for clarifying via social media post that my wife's baby was the product of her illicit affairs? And am I the a-hole for refusing to give my brother $200,000 from our parents' inheritance after he got scammed? These stories are juicy. A couple of them are also updated as well. If you are not subscribed, make sure to hit that subscribe button or follow if you are on Spotify. As well as if you would like to read these stories live with us, go follow me on Twitch, twitch.com/bysarby. Am I the a-hole for breaking up with my fiance after she hit my face and caused serious medical damage? I am 27 male and my ex-fiance is a 25-year-old woman. We had a fairly decent relationship for 5 years and planned to marry in fall of 2025. No kids. We both have professional jobs, shared and individual interests, and our own group of friends. We probably would have had a nice life together. I've always known about her excessive and over-the-top fear of insects, especially spiders and worms, and I've always done my best to be sensitive to this. Complete avoidance is impossible. One evening at a friend's house, we were sitting out on a back patio with the other couple talking, roasting marshmallows, and having a few beers and having a nice night. The next thing I remember is waking up in the ER with her crying and explaining what had happened. She saw a non-venomous spider on my forehead that I was not even aware of and freaked out. She picked up a cheap metal container that held a citronella candle and proceeded to bash my forehead. She thinks 5 times until she was sure the spider was gone. The result was 8 staples, internal brain trauma, and second-degree burns all over my face. It's been 6 months since this happened and the burn scars are still slightly visible. That's just assault. That's just a weird reaction. Like, most people who have like a phobia of insects are so scared of them that they run away. They're not so scared of them that they overreact and borderline murder their partner. I could tell that she genuinely felt bad, and after a couple days of rest, I really felt bad for her too. I didn't want to see her feeling guilty for her compulsion, but at the same time, after thinking and talking to friends, I decided it was best to call the engagement off. I explained that I really didn't blame her, and also that I didn't want her to blame herself for my injuries, but that I personally didn't want to go through another situation like that again. A few days later, after failing to convince me to change my mind, she left, and I haven't heard from her since. It's been 6 months since the event, and of course I miss her, but I'm wondering if I was wrong here. She had freaked out in the past when insects had scared her, but never to the point of harming anyone. She wasn't able to explain why she had reacted like this. She was not drunk, and the people whose house we were at were very close friends. I really don't understand, but it has caused lasting damage to me. Edit, I largely didn't include anything about the friends above because they didn't/couldn't do much. My longtime friend, the guy, was the one who took the candle from her, and his wife called 911. I was sitting next to my ex, and the other couple was directly across the fire pit. According to my friend, it happened fast and unexpectedly. Sounds like the paramedics were there less than 10 minutes after it happened. Neither of them remember seeing a spider or any other bug, and both said that my ex was freaked out when she saw what she'd done to me. Like, she didn't remember, but she did remember because she told me the story in the hospital. In any event, the guy is the one who strongly supported me when I decided to leave her. I'm definitely pro not the a-hole. Either there was malice behind this, or this is one of the stupidest, dumbest, most idiotic human beings on this planet, and you don't want to date one of the most stupid, idiotic human beings on this planet. How do you not have the self-control to not bash your fiance's head in? I don't care if there's a spider and you're extremely afraid of them. Like, you just committed assault. So either it was intentional or you're stupid. Also, the fact that other people were like, I didn't necessarily see the bug. Sketchy. Am I the a-hole for telling my parents they could be a part of my kids' lives if they gave me my inheritance? My grandparents passed away when I was very young. They left me an inheritance that would have paid for my education and helped me get started in life. If my parents had left it alone, I would be in a good place. My cousins and older sister are all debt-free and own their own homes. My dad decided that he could do better than the account my grandfather left my money in. I got $27,000 when I was old enough to get my money. That was about 10% of what everyone else got. My parents also lost a bunch of money that had been left to my mom. I have cut my parents out of my life. They were not invited to my wedding and they have not met my kids. My sister is child-free, so I have their only grandchildren. My parents want to be a part of their lives, and I said that if they replaced my money with interest, I would forgive them and allow them to meet my kids. What is 10%? Oh, that's just $270,000. I'm an idiot. They say that I'm being ridiculous and that the amount of money I'm asking for would put a huge dent in their retirement fund. I asked them how much they would have if my idiot father didn't think he knew better than my grandfather. My sister thinks I'm being mean. I told her that she was welcome to give me her money if she didn't think it was a factor. She said she wasn't going to do that. I also suggested she go have a kid if she wants them to have grandchildren. Once again, that was not an option. It has been years, obviously, and I'm still pissed that they stole my future just for my father's ego, to show he could turn a profit investing like my grandfather had. Obviously not the a-hole. Good for OP not to be like, oh, time heals. Nah, bro. Money heals. Let me get my bag. Let me get my bread. That's a heavy grudge to hold, but completely justified. I think so. I mean, if they left that money for you and you yoinked it, like, that's just selfish. Am I the a-hole for leaving my partner and refusing to be involved in any way, shape, or form after they stopped taking the pill and pierced our condoms to have a child? My partner has been on the pill throughout our relationship, and we've been in a bit of a battle these past few weeks over having children. I categorically said that I don't want them and started using condoms for double protection. This morning, she told me that she's pregnant, and I asked how this could happen when we'd been so careful. She admitted to coming off the pill and piercing through the condoms that we have stored. I've said that I don't want this and that I'm not up for marrying into a relationship based on lies. She says she's keeping it and has already told her friends, as according to her, she's done the test 8 weeks ago and was keeping it quiet in hopes that I'd change my mind. I have no idea what to do here. Help. I'm in England and I am 29. I mean, not the a-hole, bro, but I think you're kind of fucked on that. She's going to have that kid regardless. I mean, break up with her. Don't get me wrong. I guess you could give up your rights. I don't think that's the dad thing to do, but fuck. Chad, is that a crime? I don't know the specific laws. And is that a crime in England too? Where are my British people at? She wants to have the kid. She can have the kid, but now he has fatherly responsibility to it, which I guess you could give that up. I'm not a big fan of that. Like, if you fucked up, like, live up to your mistake, but damn, that sucks. It's counted as SA in some places since it's like stealthing. I think public opinion would also agree it's SA. So if he took her to court, he could probably get her on some charges. But then, bro, like, where's that kid going? You know, I don't know how to feel about this, chat. Like, honestly, the real victim here is this baby, bro. Coming in hot in the worst situation possible. Dad doesn't want them and mom is batshit crazy. Could go to jail. We got 2 updates on this one. I want to get a few things straight as people seem to be struggling with timelines. A, my partner and I were due to get married in a few short weeks. We have had many long and involved conversations during our relationship about us both wanting to remain a child-free family over the years that we have been together. Around 2 to 3 months ago, they started to appear to change their mind, which I feel insecure and unhappy about, as it is not something that I want from life, which is why I booked a vasectomy through NHS. I cannot afford to go private as money is very tight. Again, another reason I do not want children. B, she admitted to tampering with condoms and said that she'd come off the pill several weeks ago. At that point, prior to her saying that kids might be an option for her, we were still having sex and I was under the impression that we were protected as she was on the pill. I have made no secret about how I do not want kids, and she is fully aware of my reasons behind that, which I do not have to share with strangers on the internet. C, she has shown me a test and it confirms that she is pregnant. I have asked that she get an abortion and she has refused, and I feel the trust has gone completely from our relationship. We are now in the process of canceling the engagement. Now, for those people telling me to go to therapy, man up, or that I'm lying, it's great that you disagree with me, but I'd never tell you to attend therapy if your worldview differed to mine. That I should be at fault after my partner has lied to me, apparently for months, and that I am a liar. Here's a few other things for you. 1. No, I do not like kids and I don't like entitled parents. I see it the same as disliking dogs, cats, or birds. That is my opinion. Not for everyone, and not all people have to tolerate your madness. My disinterest and lack of care towards them is one of many reasons why it would be idiotic for me to be a father. Update 2. I spoke to a lawyer earlier today who has advised that as we are not married, that I won't automatically be added to the birth certificate. Woohoo. Is that how birth certificates work? I thought it was just like, hey, yo, this is your kid. We should probably fucking put your name on there. My ex-partner can still claim that I'm the biological father, but without my consent to a DNA test, it is unlikely to be able to prove it unless it is ordered by the court. But as I've been coerced into this, my lawyer thinks ex-partner and family will back down as I have evidence. The lawyer advised that I don't waive my parental rights yet, as it would indicate that I still believe the fetus could be mine. So I just have to bide my time and leave the country till this all blows over. The lawyer also suggested that I go self-employed, but didn't divulge the specifics. My ex-partner has admitted to coming off birth control and piercing the condoms, which she said she'd done around 3 months ago, as she knew I was due a vasectomy early next week and thought I'd change my mind. She has refused to have an abortion, which is her right, and I've refused any involvement. Has anyone been through this before and managed not to pay out? I think I've got a pretty good case. Not saying that you should have responsibility for this kid, but something about running out on a kid, it just doesn't sit right. I know this is not your fault. It feels weird, bro. Like fleeing the country so that you don't have to pay your child support in any other situation would be like you're a huge dickhead type of situation. But like, I get it. I guess I have to stick with not the a-hole, but like, it's something about it just does not sit right. I'm so conflicted here, you guys. Like, I think the difference for me personally is that it would not be the end of the world if I had a kid. Like, I'd fucking shape the fuck up and take care of that little idiot. OP was not being irresponsible. It was all deception based on his wife. And because of that, I can't really blame him for dipping out on his child like that. I think it's a little fucked up, yeah, but it's also fucked up that he's in this situation. Am I the a-hole for saying I'm second guessing having a baby with my husband after he asked for a paternity test? I, 26 female, and my husband, Alex, 27 male, have been married for a year. Recently, I found out I was pregnant. This was not planned. However, ever since we got married, we have not been using protection every time we got intimate, and I'm currently not on any birth control. My guess is that I'm only a few weeks along. I haven't seen a doctor yet. Anyway, I told him when he got back home from work yesterday. I personally was very happy about it because I've always wanted to be a mom. I was pretty sure I was all smiles when I told him, and I thought he would be too once he found out the news. Let me add that he's been neutral on having kids. My assumption was wrong. Immediately, he gets super upset and asks how in the hell this could happen. I explained to him that while it was sudden, we hadn't been using protection every time, so it wasn't that surprising. I thought he would have understood. For some reason, he didn't. After a few minutes of back and forth, he demanded a paternity test and told me there was no way it was his. I was hurt and insulted. Let me be very clear that I did not and will never cheat on my husband. I have also never given him any reason for him to be suspicious about me cheating on him either. I was so taken aback that he doubted my loyalty enough to ask for a paternity test. I told him I couldn't believe he was seriously asking me for that. He said that I wasn't helping my case and that if I had nothing to hide, then I would take the test and prove my loyalty to him. I honestly can't remember all that I said, but I ended up saying something along the lines of, if you're doubting me and my loyalty so much that you think I cheated on you and got pregnant with someone else's baby, then I don't think I want one with you anymore. I don't want to be tied to someone who clearly doesn't trust me. He blew up at me and accused me of cheating once again. It was a big argument and he said I was being shitty, dismissing his concerns and saying that asking for a paternity test was valid. In the end, I agreed to the test, but said that I stood by my words. Had to highlight that because some people are saying that I didn't agree to it, which I very much did. I mean, girl, if you're gonna send the results to that test, you should also send divorce papers along with it. How are you not like, bro, I busted in her? There's a possibility that she's pregnant. Ugh, male stupidity goes burr. We haven't spoken since the argument and he's currently at work. I went to my friend for advice and she said that while he was out of line for accusing me of cheating, I shouldn't have said that to him over one of his valid concerns and that clearly he had a reason to feel that way about this situation. What the fuck kind of friend is this? I cannot fathom how I made him feel like I was cheating on him. I was just so hurt that he would insult me like that and accuse me of doing something so disgusting when I thought we were supposed to have trust in each other. Edit, a lot of people are suggesting he got a secret vasectomy that failed, and that did cross my mind. During the argument, I did ask if he got a vasectomy or was infertile, and that's why the baby couldn't be his, but he dismissed that and continued saying it just couldn't be his without providing me a solid reason. So in that regard, I have really no idea what to say. Edit 2, I feel I should elaborate on the neutral about kids part. I told him while we were still just dating that no kids was a deal breaker for me. He said that was fine because his stance on it was that if we ever have kids, it's fine. If something happens and we don't, it's fine. I'm calling that neutral since I don't know what else to call it. So when I told him I was pregnant, I thought he would be fine with it like he said, but apparently he just changed his mind about that and didn't tell me. And also I have no issues with men wanting paternity tests. I just had an issue with him blatantly accusing me of being a cheater with no solid proof to back it up along the way. Yeah, I think this is the most important part right here is like, if you want a paternity test because you have a good reason to think that that kid is not yours, absolutely. But that's not a good reason. Like, bro, you guys have been having unprotected sex with no birth control. There's a very, very high likelihood that that kid is yours. And unless you've caught your wife talking to other men or you have other valid reasons or suspicions that they're cheating on you, like, no paternity test needed. If I had to put money on this, I think bro was lying when he said he was neutral about kids. I think bro does not want kids and just didn't want to tell you because he knew it would end the relationship. Am I the a-hole for wanting to divorce my husband and everyone in my family is telling me not to? I, 38 female, and my husband, 41 male, have been together for 12 years and married for 10. We have an 8-year-old daughter and I want to leave him. The problem is because it's not over anything dramatic, so my family is extremely against it. I'm Korean American, second generation, and my husband is first generation, and in Korea, men do zero housework. My friends who are immigrants are shocked any man does any housework. I'm raised more in an equal family. My mom and dad are both doctors and both do some of the housework, but my mom definitely does more. I don't live in a huge city for medical school and residency, so honestly, my husband was one of like 10 Korean men my age there. My ex was white and I loved him. Also, dog. Something about being married and talking about divorcing your husband and then also dropping that you love your ex is just not what? That's crazy, bro. Also a medical student at the time, but my parents refused to let me marry him because he wasn't Korean. I really regret it. I married my husband because my parents wanted it and he was close by and the right age. We don't get along. He was raised very traditional and wasn't expected to ever wash a plate. He is by Western standards pretty sexist. Okay, now I kind of jumped the gun on that. Bro, we're in a time where you should have the gonads to tell your parents to fuck off. Like, oh, you love him so much? Why don't you fucking marry him? But life was okay until he was laid off 2 years ago because he was busy, and so I felt like I had to do all the housework. He was in tech, but worked on something that has been depreciated and had a hard time finding new work. He made 6 figures in his previous role, but now struggles to make the same. We could move, but he refuses to as to be close to his family. His family really doesn't like me as I'm an emergency room doc, and I'm on call, so I sometimes can't be home to tuck my child in. He never did any housework before the layoff, and now he still doesn't, but maybe because I let it go for so long, he thinks because I want him to do it now is me looking down on him now that he isn't working, because he sees it as demeaning him. My mother-in-law was a stay-at-home mother her whole life and doesn't believe a career and motherhood goes together. However, everyone knows I make the most and now all of the money, and it makes her hate me because she feels like her son is being emasculated, and he feels like that too, so he puts me down about how I'm a bad mother when I go to shifts that require him to be at home with our daughter. I think he might be suffering from depression, but he and his family don't believe in mental health and has yelled at me for suggesting seeing a therapist. The last straw was last weekend. I came home after a conference and the house was a mess, and my daughter had only eaten McDonald's and frozen pizzas because my husband refuses to cook. I bought all the ingredients and it was extremely simple to make a fried rice. I even cooked the rice. Even though I was on for 60 plus hours a week, I do all the cooking, cleaning, and most of the childcare as I picked her up and drop her off from school. I will admit I was against divorce until my friend divorced. She suffered a pretty toxic marriage for 15 years and divorced 2 years ago. She is now so much happier and tells me it's way better than being with her ex. I want to leave, but my family is extremely against it as no one in my family is divorced and it is seen as extremely taboo. They say I will ruin my child if I do, and my parents told me they won't help me do anything if I leave because I'm shaming them. I'm torn, but I can't stand this anymore, and I've told my husband at least 4 times I want a divorce, and he just says he has no idea why I want it. Even when I spell it out in bullet points what he needs to do to make things right. Then he just ignores them and complains I nag when I point out what he's doing wrong. My mom is always telling me I must not be communicating, but I have many times and am just ignored. Honestly, bro, you're doing everything for other people and not for yourself. The only person that maybe you should consider what's going to happen to them is their child. I very strongly disagree that you're gonna ruin their life. If anything, you're gonna make their life better, especially because this is your daughter. You need to teach your daughter that putting up with this shit is way in the past. The traditional house mom lifestyle, that's some dumb shit 1980s beliefs. You want to raise your daughter to become the strong, independent woman that you are. And in order to do that, you need to divorce your husband. Go back to your ex, honestly. Like, only time I'm going to say that. Only time I'm going to be like, all right, maybe your ex was cooking. That in the long run is going to be better for your daughter and for yourself. Honestly, fuck your parents. Your parents are the reason that you're in this predicament in the first place. If anything, it sounds like a good thing to get the fuck away from them. Not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my brother $200,000 from our parents' inheritance after he got scammed? I, 34 male, recently inherited $400,000 from our parents' estate after they passed away. There was a slight delay in my part in receiving the said amount because of some legal complications. My younger brother, 31 male, received the same amount, but just months after their death. He was swindled out of nearly all of his life savings by a shady investment scheme. Now he's asking me to share $200,000 of my inheritance with him to help him get back on his feet. He argues that our parents would have wanted us to have equal financial standing and that losing his money wasn't his fault. Yeah, right. And that he'd pay me back all later. I feel terrible for him, but I don't think it's fair to give up half of my inheritance for a mistake he made, no matter how unfortunate. I've been working hard, budgeting and planning to use this money for my family's future. If I give him half, it puts my own financial security at risk. My wife supports my decision, but some relatives think I'm being greedy and heartless, saying family comes first. I want to dive in this edit because I think he explains what the scam was. I called my brother and asked him what exactly happened and told him I'd only give him the money if he told me the truth and only the truth. He told me he invested in a company called Aramco, obviously not the real one, to a sheik, and paid his deposit of $10,000 the first time, where he got back $20,000. Then he began scaling up and always got doubled until $100,000. He got back $110,000. Then he was emboldened and invested $300,000 and was guaranteed $600,000. And the rest is history. He made a police report but had no evidence to share, as he withdrew in cash and dealt in cash itself, taking only token receipts which were fake. He kept the previously gotten amount in cash in his house. I only came to know how stupid someone can get. I told him his lack of basic common sense and greed does not constitute grounds for charity on my part, and told him to take better care of the remaining $100,000. He cussed me out and told me I disappointed my parents. Oh wait, so he has $100,000 that he's sitting on anyways? Before I knew that he had $100,000 left, I was like, maybe you could give him $100,000. But bro, if you can't make $100,000 work for you, that's on you, dog. Put that shit into a retirement account or into investments and just like let it sit. It's pretty easy to make that last you a relatively long time. As for my relatives, I told them all in the group chat that I'd only match whatever they would pay to my brother, and even offered to double it since I was so greedy and I wanted to prove them wrong. Thanks to a legendary commenter who suggested that. I love you. I was cussed out there too, LOL. They're all blocked now. They told me the money got into my head. It probably depends on your relationship too, because if it were one of my siblings, I think I actually would. Maybe not half, but a decent amount of money, but I'd only give it to them if I got to oversee what happened to that money. Like, I would micromanage the fuck out of it. I'd be like, okay, well, if I'm going to give you $100,000, I am going to actively open the account, put the money into that account, oversee that account, and make sure you're not withdrawing that money until you're retired. While I understand how somebody could fall for this scam, falling for the scam in the first place just shows me that you are probably an irresponsible and maybe, I hate to say it, but not so smart person. But I don't think this person owes the brother anything. And I think the family members saying that they owe the brother something is uncalled for and out of line. Am I the a-hole for clarifying via social media post that my wife's baby was the product of her illicit affairs? Advice needed. My male 49 wife, Cynthia, female 45, got pregnant against my will after we had discussed and agreed on not having any more kids. We already have female 18, male 13, male 8, and male 4. I was scheduled for a vasectomy. She claimed she was on the pill, but I was using condoms because I wanted to make sure nothing happened. I had my vasectomy, but she was pregnant a few weeks later. She was overjoyed, and I wasn't. I didn't want to be an old dad. She claimed the pills didn't work. I never pushed for her getting surgery because I know it's harder for women, and she said injectable contraceptives hurt her health. I checked all my condoms and all of them had been pierced. What's up with the pierced condoms this week? We had a huge argument that ended with her crying. My trust has been destroyed. I assume that nothing she says is true. She also got fired when she was 3 months pregnant. I found it weird that she didn't fight it. Then she said she needed to stay home, which is exactly what I dreaded. She said morning sickness was too bad to go to work. For our entire 18 years of marriage, she has pushed to be a stay-at-home mom. We can't afford it. She gave me the silent treatment for weeks after our second was born when I said she needed to find a job. I never heard the end of it, as she calls it, when I made her leave our baby and sent her to get a job, like I had ripped her away from our kid. I got suspicious, thinking that perhaps she had resigned and was lying. I know it's wrong, but I got into her phone. Long story short, she had a workplace affair and she and her affair partner both got canned. She slept with him during her training out of state and eventually scheduled every assignment out of town to cheat with him. He is in his late 50s, married. She also slept with my cousin's son, Nelson, male 29, and he's a drug addict. I saw and heard messages between them. He would come to my house when I was out. I have asked the neighbor and they confirmed. My neighbor said Nelson would show up sometimes 2 days in a row when I was out. I checked my schedule and it could have been when I went to Ohio for 3 weeks. I came home on weekends, but everything seemed normal. Not only cheating on one person, but 2? See, now this is a guy who has a good reason to get a paternity test for all of his kids. What's worse is that Nelson calls me uncle. I let him stay over a couple of times. She also used our own kids, our 2 youngest, as leverage, promising that he could see them if he didn't pressure her and kept his mouth shut. So she obviously put him in some type of stepdaddy role. She told him that the pregnancy was his baby. I hate him, but I think she manipulated him because he has zero relationship with his parents or his siblings. And he kept texting her about how she was like home to him. I lost it and woke her up. She tried to claim that she was SA'd by both men. Then she said she was pressured into it because they threatened her. I confronted both men. I reached out to her ex-coworker via social media, but he blocked me after a couple of exchanged messages. Nelson did get belligerent, and it could have probably ended in a real fight if I had him in front of me. I think that he definitely should reach out to the wife, because it said that this man was also married. That wife needs to know. The paternity test came as negative. I moved out and got a lawyer. I refused to be at the hospital during childbirth. It was a stillborn. I was shocked. Even if it wasn't mine, it felt dark and strange. I offered my kids emotional support, but didn't allow her to cry to me. I had to get a court order to get a DNA test on all of our kids. They are mine. Okay, that's good at least. A few weeks ago, people on Facebook started asking questions and attempting to call me out for not posting anything about the baby. I think she might have told someone that I wasn't present at childbirth because a couple people came at me. We are getting a divorce and I'm very angry that she's still trying to milk it. I told each person the truth separately, but eventually got fed up with looking like the bad guy and wrote a post saying, "Thank you to everyone who has reached out to insult me, but the baby was not my child as per the paternity test." I had to step away from social media because of it. Her family called me asking to take it down. They don't know the full story, but said, "This is not how things get solved. I'm not deleting it," despite being called out for slut shaming. While I worked my ass off for our family, she was texting her best friend and complaining about how I'm not the shadow of my former self, how I look old and let myself go. Her friend had an angry response, but they are not on speaking terms anymore. Cynthia claimed that her friend ghosted her and she doesn't know why. I'm suing for custody since she repeatedly took my kids across the state so that Nelson could hang out with them and left them with her dad before I came home from work so that she could go do work stuff and have sex outside our marriage. She had been begging me not to ever tell the kids about the paternity test, but they needed to know the truth before she twisted the narrative. My daughter won't speak to her and our second child wants to come live with me. I'm sick of crying sporadically because sometimes I'm driving and can't hold it in. I can't even watch porn because she and her affair partners come to mind. I had a family and despite everything, I was proud and happy and she took it away. I didn't know she saw me as less. She told her ex-best friend that she loved watching the executives in her job. At least her friend defended me, although we are not close. My lawyer says we should contact her as a character witness. I hate Cynthia and I told her during her pregnancy when she wanted to initiate sex. She's naturally overweight and I loved her as such, but I hated the knocked up by the affair partner version of her. I told her she looked grotesque like Jabba the Hutt. Her lawyer is pushing for family counseling. I would only agree to civil co-parenting, but nothing oriented at couples reconciliation bullshit. She calls it a mistake, but to me, she bred via infidelity and created an entire human being, and I will never forget that. Am I the a-hole for refusing to take my post down? Am I the a-hole for refusing to show compassion? All I want is to get out of her life, and I feel like she's trying to keep me from moving on. I mean, not the a-hole for refusing to take your post down, and not the a-hole for refusing to show compassion. Bro just had to clear his name. That's all that post was. And sorry if she had to deal with the repercussions of those actions, but like, that's on her. She shouldn't have cheated. And I think there's no compassion that OP needs to show this woman because she cheated. If you get cheated on, you should go for the jugular in that divorce. And by God, is OP going for the jugular. Other than that line about calling her Jabba the Hutt, I don't think OP did anything wrong. He probably could have kept that one to himself, but I mean, also she cheated on you. So like, there's going to be a little bit of anger and hatred there. Am I the a-hole for rehoming my wife's dog after she cheated? Before we get into the last story, if you enjoyed this video and want to see future videos, hit that subscribe button. On top of that, if you're trying to dive deeper into our community, I highly recommend joining our Discord. Links to those are in the description. Feel free to tag me once you're in there. My wife had an affair and left me. No kids, thank God, but she did leave behind her dog. After she left, I packed up all her stuff and told her to come get it. She showed up with her new boyfriend and took everything except her dog. She said that her boyfriend was allergic to dogs, so she couldn't take him. I told her to take him to her parents' house or to a friend. She said she would make arrangements and come back. She didn't. After I tried contacting her too many times about the dog and only about the dog, she blocked me. I took care of him until his food started running low. I wasn't going to spend any money on him, so I gave him to a friend of a friend. One of their dogs had recently died and they were familiar with his breed. We got together at the dog park to see if their dog got along with my ex's. They got along great and he went home with them. That was 2 months ago. My ex finally unblocked me and contacted me to say that she still hasn't found anyone to take her dog and to ask me to keep him for her. I was honest and told her the dog was long gone. She is pissed and wanted the contact information for the person I gave the dog to. I refused. She said she was going to sue me. I told her to go ahead. Our mutuals are divided. Some think she's a bitch for abandoning her dog. Some think I'm the a-hole for giving away her property. I think she lost all rights to him when she blocked me. I agree right here. You left that dog for OP to figure out what to do with it, and OP figured out what to do with it. The only way that I could maybe think of OP being the a-hole here is if they just gave it to a shelter. Not a big fan of that, but OP like went out of their way to go find somebody who could give this dog a good home and give this dog a good home with another dog sibling. Like that's a W in my book. Not the a-hole, bro. If you're looking for more messy Reddit stories, click the link at the top of the description or click one of the videos popping up on the screen right now. The members of our community love these videos, and I'm sure you will too.